Truly. Well, hi. I did not upload any other videos after that one. It is 3 years later. And you know what? That's fine too. It's 2025, which is a crazy number. It doesn't make any sense at all. I am not in the same apartment from the last few videos. I loved watching them back just now. And just like seeing how earnest they were and how kind I was being to myself. I think it's very sweet. We're older now, we're louder now, we're a little bit maybe lacking in refinement perhaps. But we're back because I was feeling the exact same way, I think, really. But I think a little bit more sick of my own nonsense this time, which is like another version of that procrastination and like feeling frustrated with not living like the life I want to be living and, you know, what have you. And so I decided, you know what, I've been in a little bit of like, I was talking about this recently where I was asked, like, do I feel like I'm on autopilot? And I wanted to say no, and I did say no, but there was like a version of a yes in that, you know, like I think that I'm still at the same job that I mentioned in my last two videos. It's changed a bit. My relationship with it has changed. I'm leaving it this year. I'm going to go study abroad, which is another story for another time perhaps, but so there is an end date to that, but even so, it's several months away. But I think I've fallen into a little bit of a rut again, you know, like I think it's cyclical where when things get quiet, I sort of realize all the things that the noise kind of distracts me from, right? And so it's been a little quiet lately. And in that quietness, if you will, I have been watching a lot of content and, you know, podcasts and things like that. And I think that when I find myself doing so much of the same thing, it's because a part of me wants to be doing that, but it's so much easier to consume it than do it, you know, than to create it. And so today I am recording, and they're currently literally on the other side of this phone, still with the little arm thingy that I had from years ago. There's like dudes working outside my window, like going up and down. They're like fixing some crap on the apartment building. So we're just gonna roll with it, you know. So if it goes dark, if you hear some drilling, I mean, here we are. We're just doing it. But yeah, I have had a lot of different things happen in the last 3 years, as one would hope. It's 3 years worth of time. But I think one of the things that I've sort of like gone back and forth on a lot was the concept of creating content, especially now more than ever. There's just so much content out there and so many people talking about so many things. And what was discouraging to me wasn't so much like, I think this really common idea that like, oh, everyone's doing this, what would I have to add? Like, I don't really get stuck on that. It was more like I noticed that the moments in time where I consume the most content are the moments where I feel perhaps my most alone, or perhaps my most directionless, or maybe even like most vulnerable, perhaps you could say. And I noticed sort of my history with parasocial relationships, right? Like over time, the YouTubers that you followed since you were younger, the people whose lives like you've been observing and feel a connection with, but like they don't know you exist. And so I came to this like really hard realization with some YouTubers that I watch who now have kids, you know, getting married, whatever, all of this. And I was just like, gosh, it would be so sad if one day they stop making content, which eventually I'm sure that day will come. And I have no way to be like, oh, hi, you know, how are the kids, right? Like, because that's not my friend, you know? And I know that, and I've always known that. But that version of the realization of like what that means, like the implications of that, hit me like a truck. And I was like, man, do I want to contribute to this like creation of parasocial relationships where like you're not calling your friend, you don't actually have a connection, you know, you're just like something people are consuming and have in their head. And that just like really stopped me in my tracks, I think, about making videos and content and whatever, and like sharing myself in such a way that's like I'm literally talking on my phone right now. Like I am talking at a camera, right? Like I don't think that I mean that's never been normal, right? Like that's become more common, but like conceptually this is kind of a weird thing. Like I'm in my apartment talking to myself, essentially. That's odd. If you think about it for too long, and I thought about it for way too long. But I got here today because I realized, at least personally, for me, if you want to use this word, like the goal here is really to like talk to people that I find interesting. And who I find interesting are a lot of people who do podcasts and who talk to each other or like other guests and stuff, like share these ideas. Like I think a lot about Drew Afualo and Brittany Broski, especially I think in her case, because like she came from this meme, and then, you know, she does a lot of comedy stuff, and like, but now she has her own podcast and talks about like, you know, equal parts like funny stuff and like quite serious stuff. And those are just people I want to talk to someday, you know, like I want to ask them questions that like, you know, I hear that come up for me when I'm listening to them and their content, whatever. And I love those spaces. So like I was thinking about like a number of different things, this idea of parasocial relationships and like this like attachment or interest that one might have in someone else. And I was like, well, I don't want to just consume it. I actually want to get there. And I think the only way to get there is to be someone that is sharing themselves too, and sort of like, you know, climb that ladder and hopefully, you know, get to participate in those conversations and like beyond those specific folks, but obviously like, you know, connecting to anyone who might see themselves in this video. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot about the type of content I consume, and I just like, it's aspirational, or it's like, I, you know, want to be friends with people like that. There are like all sorts of different reasons that we watch the content that we do. But overall, it's always stuff that makes me feel good in some way, right? Either I'm laughing or it gives me something that keeps me going in some way, even if it's not someone that's literally speaking in some sort of aspirational way to you. Like it's not necessarily that they're a motivational speaker, but what they say motivates me. And I think that's worth trying to put out into the world, you know? I think that's worth contributing to, not just like the general nonsense, like factory of content, which like no disrespect, I guess, to like every type of content or whatever. I mean, maybe that implies like some disrespect to some content. I don't know. I'm not about to start a fight here, but like, there's obviously like types of content that I find more, that add more to the world than perhaps other types, whatever, to each their own, you know, that's fine. But anyway, I thought it would be nice to just kind of follow up and say like, I'm still here. I hope you are too. And whatever that means to you. And I think it's easy to say like, oh, it's been 3 years since the last video, like who the hell cares? I didn't know who the hell cared when I made the first two, like then that doesn't really matter. The point here is like to keep going, and I think I mentioned that the last couple of videos, and I think that that's like really important to continue to demonstrate. And they're like literally dudes like rolling up the window right now watching me do this. And I think that's the other point of this, like feeling really self-conscious in a certain way. Like, I don't think necessarily self-conscious of like what someone watching this video is gonna think and feel, but more like self-consciousness of like someone else knowing or like watching me do this. Like, I currently live in Miami now. I didn't before when I made the last few videos. And I feel like living here, it just like makes me feel so cringy when I watch people like, you know, vlogging out in the world or like making videos like out in public, like with absolutely no shame or decency. It just makes me cringe a bit. And I don't mean to sound judgmental when I say that. I think it's just like, it probably comes from like also a place of envy where I maybe want to be like that as well. And I think that part of like that in the sense of like being unashamed and unafraid to like do the damn thing, no matter who's watching and like no matter what anyone's opinions might be, like out in public like that. But yeah, I don't know. It just like it does make me cringe. It might be like the type of stuff they're making that makes me cringe. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a dick, and that's fine too. But yeah, I wanted to come back and give that status update. I also wanted to say that in the last video I said I hope to upload more, and I want to hold myself to this time by saying that now that I only have a few months left to going off and studying abroad, I want to fill this time with making a video a week and just chatting at the camera and seeing what happens. So today is Monday, March 3rd, and it is practically spring again. And I'm excited to share kind of my process leading up to going off and studying abroad, but also just like my process of being a person. And, you know, if that makes anyone else feel a little bit more seen and, you know, less alone as most, I think, content creators or people who just make stuff want people to feel, then awesome. But yeah, I'm pretty sure in my other two videos I also didn't introduce myself, and I'm just realizing I didn't do that now. I don't know, maybe I did, but again, I still have the memory and brain of a flea, so that's something we're gonna have to deal with. But my name is Mary. I'm in my late 20s, and I hope we'll have some fun here. So if you're watching after the last two, God bless you, thank you, my God. That's great. Thanks. But I hope to see more, you know, folks soon. See more interactions soon. That would be fun. It's always nice to know if someone is listening on the other side. But yeah, see you soon. And I won't be editing any of these either. So there we are.